Welcome to your reading. I have your spread. I have my notes. Let's get right into it, because before I actually drew your cards, the Ace of Cups reversed shuffled out. And in the reading for H that I just posted, I also got an Ace of Cups reversed. And I'm thinking that the reason that everybody is getting the Ace of Cups reversed is because there is a big full moon coming on Friday. And the aspects around that full moon are very conducive to discharging emotion. And what might happen is that if you don't realize how sad you are, you're actually going to get really angry at other people. So that is my advice to you around this. And I would like to bring that energy into the whole reading, because that's true of all of us. If we don't acknowledge how sad we are, the grief that we have, the trauma that's happened to us, if we don't acknowledge that that has created an emotional wound of sadness and why was I treated that way and why did this happen to me, and all of the things that give us trauma throughout our lives. None of us get out of life without trauma, unfortunately, no matter where we live or who our parents are, blah, blah, blah. And to ignore that that makes us sad can turn into anger that we point at other people. And, that's not something I was actually going to bring up in the reading, because that's more of like what's happening this full moon. But I did want to mention it because that card came out during the shuffle. So good luck being sad. Everything else in this reading actually is not sad. Everything else in this reading is really good. First, we have the Six of Swords. And I know it looks sad because there's kind of like a gloomy body of water. But what the Six of Swords is really about is going to a place that you've never been before and having no idea what to expect on the other side. And often when we're in Six of Swords, it feels like we're running away from a situation that no longer serves us. And the reason that I see this in a positive light, even though sometimes it can be like, I call it the immigration card, because it's like going from a place that you know really well, but you can no longer stay there, to a place that you don't know that well, but you know is going to give you, or you hope is going to give you, a better life. And when we're thinking about that in situations like our lives, at the small scale, it could be going to a different country. It could literally be like, I have to get out of here. I'm packing up my friend or my child or my backpack full of stuff, and I'm going, and I'm hoping for the best, and I'm going to build a new life. But interpersonally and emotionally, we're often thinking about like leaving behind relationships, situations, jobs, living situations, stuff like that. And for that reason, the Six of Swords does have grief in it. This was in the past placement, so I feel like you are kind of out of a chapter of your life where you had to acknowledge that you had to get out of somewhere. And then what it brings us to is the Justice card. Beautiful. I love this Justice card so much. I mean, come on now. Justice can also be about processing anger in a healthy way, because when we have a strong sense of justice, it can bring out passion. It can make us cutthroat. I love to say that there's a reason that justice carries a sword, because justice isn't all about laws. It's also about violence and self-defense and clarity, which is what the suit of swords in the tarot is about. It's about clarity of mind and clarity of communication. And justice does not have to see evidence of something being wrong to understand that it is wrong. And for my notes here, for you, this is about your compass, because we're moving out of the Six of Swords where we realize that some place or situation or relationship is no longer serving us and we have to move on. And we don't know where we're going. That's like classic Six of Swords. But we have this internal compass of feelings and vibes and intuition and understanding about what is fair and reasonable for us. So that might mean things like setting boundaries. That might mean things like hurting people's feelings in the service of truth and clarity, right? Justice is all about finding clarity in the chaos. And I will remind you, in the same way that I remind everyone, that honest communication is kind communication. And in order for something to be truly honest, it must be truly kind. There's no way to be actually clear about what information you're bringing to someone without showing respect for them, because no one can hear the truth if it's not communicated respectfully. That's a very justice, because justice is all about that clarity of communication and clarity of boundaries. So calling someone names, putting someone down, telling them to get out of your life because they did this, that, or the other, that's not exactly honest communication, because that's coming from a place of emotion rather than logic, right? Ideally, we want to process our feelings in a safer way, right? We don't want to process our feelings with people that are not safe. We want to process our feelings with people that are, and then go to the people that are not safe and give them the information and the data that we have pulled from that emotional processing. I don't know if that's a little bit of a tangent about like honest and clear communication, which is very justice. But if you're in a situation where you're leaving where you were and you're going somewhere that you don't know, bringing that kind of communication that is not rooted in reactionary, like this like fire and anger, is going to be really valuable for wherever you're going and how you get there, because we need people along the way. We need community, right? And then the best news of the entire reading is that once we make this transition, which is very much what it feels like, is like a big transition, the Tower reversed. And we have the Tower upright. What that means is that everything is falling apart. Life is a nightmare. Nothing makes sense. We're jumping out of a burning building, right? That's the Tower. And what you've done with whatever work you're doing in your life right now, whatever community you have, whatever good choices you're making, you have turned a Tower situation where you're jumping out of a building into a much more relaxed and logical situation where you are packing up your stuff and you're leaving a chapter of your life. You're leaving a piece of you behind, but you're also going somewhere that you know is going to be better for you. It's a logical decision based on your thoughts and not your feelings. And it took wisdom to make the choice to, rather than jump out of a burning building, take those steps, right? Now, I don't see a lot of energy here saying that it's a breakup, like a romantic breakup, but it's like kind of that feeling of like, I cannot be this person anymore. I have to be a new person in order to have a new life. It's springtime right now. I don't know if you can hear the birds on the audio, but and then there's that big full moon on Friday, and it's a good time to start a new chapter. And what I'm seeing here with the Tower reversed is that chaotic energy, the like, like I'm juggling, I'm jumping out of a burning building, everything is on fire, I don't understand what's happening to me, I don't understand why people are acting like this, like, that kind of constant thinking about what is going on and I'm confused, is coming to an end, right? Because what happens is usually there's this thing in magic that we call Tower moments. There are moments in our life that are the Tower, which is where the lightning strikes and the building catches on fire and we're jumping out of it, right? And what those Tower moments do is they open our crown chakra so that we can access heaven, so that we can connect, right? So the universe shakes our life up a little so that we can move into a new like state of consciousness, essentially. And so when I see it in the reverse, what I see is that moment is over for you and that you can rest easy because you're making new choices. You're really accessing your ability to process your thoughts and kind of like transmute your emotions so that your feelings aren't so much leading the way. You're really leading with your mind and what makes sense, rather than like, I have to do this, I have to do that, I have to blah, blah, blah. And this could be an invitation to realize that this chapter of your life where, you know, if you've been feeling stagnant, like if you feel like nothing is changing around you and like you have to be the one to change because no one's going to change for you, you have to do that. My inclination is that it's not you that has to change. It's that like all of us have to change. Everything is changing. The world is changing. The economy is changing. Our consciousness is shifting. Like it's not necessarily that you have no choice. It's that that's how the world is moving along. And if you don't access the parts of you that are going to make that possible for you, you're going to get left behind, right? And that can feel like a tower moment. That can feel like I'm going to die. Life is falling apart, you know, stuff like that. You can kind of release the idea that that's chaotic, and walk into the idea that I have choices to make. You know, I have a way of being that I need to embody in order to enter this new chapter, not just of my life, but of the world. So good luck with that.